the Sports Renegades podcast on SportstownChicago.com.
Renegade, never been afraid to say what's on my mind at any given time of day, cause I'm a renegade. Never been afraid to talk about anything. Renegade, never been afraid to say
Welcome in to the Sports Renegades here on SportstownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
And yes, this is the Sports Renegades, and we got some huge Chicago sports games on all day today, actually. The
A very
Cubs,
frustrating one this morning.
yeah, the Cubs lost in part to the bullpen again, as Brian Schlitter did not help, and he took the loss. And tonight, there's a bunch of huge games. The Sox play tonight against Kansas City Royals. That's a great pitching matchup, by the way. Yordano Ventura against Chris Sale.
Hopefully no one gets ejected in that game for hitting guys.
Right. Last weekend against the Royals and Athletics, Yordano Ventura got into it with some of the A's players.
Yeah, he got tossed. There were suspensions, fines. That was just a crazy series. I'm sure all the players are glad that's over.
Right, and yeah, the Bulls play at 7 o'clock. We'll talk about them a little later on as they try to go 3-0 against the Milwaukee Bucks, which they should be able to do fairly easily. I know they're going to play without Nico Mirotic thanks to Zaza Pachulia hurting him, but you know.
I wonder if the Bulls win tonight, how much ticket prices will go down for Saturday.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if you'd see a whole lot of Bucks fans. I mean, even tonight, there should be a lot of Chicago Bulls fans there, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's only like a 2-hour drive for some people, maybe less. I mean, for you, what's it, like an hour down to
For me,
Center?
it's like an hour, yeah. You just hop on 94 and go there, go all the way there pretty much. But we're starting off the show today talking about the Blackhawks as they're sort of the most important thing today as they look to beat the Nashville Predators and move on to the second round between the winner of St. Louis and Minnesota, which is yet to be determined. But yeah, the Hawks, this is game 5. I predicted the Hawks would win in 6, so technically, I guess I predicted they would lose this game and win Game 6 at the United Center, but I want them to win tonight, obviously.
Just get over tonight.
Yeah.
Shea Weber should be out again tonight. I believe Eddie Olczyk tweeted that Weber's doubtful for the game.
Okay, so that's a good thing, obviously, as he really helped Nashville when they won Game 2. So that'll be really something to build off of. As they try to win Game 5. I don't think it's going to be an overtime game, especially not a triple overtime game.
You don't want your players getting all tired from all these overtimes in round 1.
No, that would not be good. We got to save that for the Western Conference Finals and the second round in the Stanley Cup if we ever get there.
Yeah, it'd be nice to win this, get all rested. I mean, look at Anaheim; they're just resting now after sweeping Winnipeg.
Yeah. I was surprised that they swept Winnipeg. I thought Winnipeg was playing good late, and they would, give the Ducks some trouble. I think in that NHL bracket challenge thing, I picked the Ducks to win in 6 or 7 games. I think I might have had that series going 7.
Yeah, I had it going like 6. I mean, I can't remember the last time Anaheim was showing up for playoff games. They keep getting knocked out in the first round every year.
Right. And they always have like a good regular season. And then
one of the best, one of the top teams in the West.
Yeah, and then they don't show up for playoff time, but they did. And they're going to be playing the winner of, Vancouver and Calgary?
Yeah, which Calgary's up 3-1, and Vancouver just does not look good.
Which makes me happy because, I mean, we don't like Vancouver.
No one likes Vancouver.
They, at one time, were a rival back when the Hawks won the Cup in 2010, but now they're definitely not as good as the Blackhawks and not as consistent either. So they're not so much a big rivalry anymore. But
tonight, Nashville does get back some important pieces in Mike Fisher and Colin Wilson. Okay. Remember, Wilson, I think, had 3 goals in the first 2 games of the series.
Right, yes, he did. That he had some goals in that second game that just went all haywire in the third period.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He had 2 goals in the first period in Game 1. and Fisher should be slotted back into that second line role. He played really well before he got injured in the first game.
I'm hoping that Patrick Kane can score a goal or two in this game. I think that would be really exciting to see him get back on track, at least scoring-wise. I mean, he's done a lot of good things.
Hossa doesn't have any goals either, I don't think.
Yeah,
he's played really well, though. Same with Kane. They both played really well. They just haven't put one in the back of the net yet.
Right. And, something that's interesting, it seems like all the overtime games that the Hawks have in the playoffs, Seabrook always scores the game winner, right? Like, it always seems that way. I know he had the game winner against Detroit, right?
Yep, he had the game winner against Detroit. He won Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals in overtime.
That's right, in Boston.
Yep. Last year was the only year in recent memory I don't remember him scoring any overtime goals, because that double OT game against the Kings, it was Hanzus that scored.
Right.
And Kane scored in Game 6 in the series against the Wild to send it to the Western Conference Finals.
Right. Yeah, so it's just, they're all these different guys always seem to play well at the right time, but Seabrook certainly has been clutch.
Yeah, he does. He shows up in big games, and he definitely makes clutch, scores a lot of clutch goals. I mean, as you said, a lot of guys in the Blues series, in the 2 games the Hawks won that went to overtime, Kane and Taves scored, I believe, in Games 4 and 5, respectively, because Crawford had the shutout in Game 3. And, I mean, right now, why not close out the series if you can? Scott Darling's been playing phenomenal. He had 50 saves in last game in that triple overtime thriller at the United Center. I mean, and he's played well all series, so hopefully he can keep it going, just get this over in 5, let some guys rest up, and wait for the winner of the Blues and the Wild series, which you really don't know who's going to win that series now, because every other game someone's winning, one team's looking really bad, and then the other team is looking really good. I mean, 6-1 Blues last night, and then the game before it was the Wild that dominated.
Right, and it's just, it's sort of interesting. I wonder if Game 1 of the second round, if Corey Crawford will be back in net.
Well, see, I don't, even though I want him to be back, because I'm a big Corey Crawford fan, I don't think he will, because, I mean, if Darling wins Game 5, you got to go with the hot goaltender, because that's really all it takes in hockey is a hot goaltender.
I'm thinking they'll probably start Darling throughout.
Right. I mean,
although unless he has a blow-up like Crawford did in Game 2.
Right, yeah. I mean, if he starts playing bad, or maybe they go down 3-1, maybe you might want to go to a goaltending change next round. I mean, it all depends on how Darling plays, so you never know. He might get injured, and then Crawford will get his chance again. Because, I mean, if you remember, at the end of the season, he was the team MVP. He was facing 35-plus shots per game, and then in the playoffs, I mean, something just looked off, because at the end of the regular season, he was just dominating, just kept putting out dominant performances, and then he had that awful first period in Game 1, and then Game 2, something just looked off, like he might have been injured, or he was just fatigued or something.
Right.
So you really don't know. You hope it's nothing
And they never
serious.
really tell you in hockey.
Yeah, really. Hockey, it's lower body and upper body injury.
Yeah, that's just one of the screwy things with the injuries there.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when Joe Quenneville had a horse in a race, and he had to have it scratched, and he said it was because of a lower body injury.
There you go. It's either lower or an upper body injury.
Yeah. I think they should be required to say if it's a concussion, though.
Yeah, if it's a concussion, that could certainly be helpful for people to know. If you take a look at the goals scored in this series, Taves has 2, Seabrook has 2, Sharp has 2, Saad has 2, which was very surprising and nice to see that Saad has 2 goals.
Yep, he's got his playoff belt under him. He's been doing really nice after he had an off, or he wasn't as good in the playoffs when they won the Cup in 2013. He's been playing a lot better. It's all about the experience in the playoffs and who shines under the pressure.
And for Nashville, as you said, Wilson's been playing really well. He has 4 goals in this series.
Yeah, I know he had 2 in that first period in Game 1. And I know he scored in Game 2. Might have had 2 in Game 2. I mean, they had 6 goals.
Well, he must have had 2 because it says 4 goals here. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure he probably had 2 when they won. I forget what the final score was. 6-2.
I think it was 6-2.
6-2. Yeah, that's disappointing. That's sort of like the game yesterday where St. Louis scored 6 goals to even up that series at 2.
Right. That game also reminded me of the Kings series last year. The Hawks were actually up 2-0 in Game 2. Already had a commanding 1-0 series lead, or I wouldn't say that's too commanding. They played really well in Game 1, and then they allowed 6 straight goals in the last 2 periods, and then had a big explosion there.
Right. So the Hawks play tonight at 8:30. It's another late game, unfortunately.
Well, we'll be back in time to see it.
Yeah, that is the good thing. Our show ends at 8. We should be back just in time for the start of the game, especially if there's a game on a different station that is running late. Then
I think this game's on CSN though.
Yeah, well, but it's also shown on national television as well as locally.
NBC Sports. So
yeah, I mean, we won't get it nationally because we have the locals thing. They'll be showing something else. I remember game. It was either game 1 or 2 was on NHL Network, and I went to it just to see if we would get the national broadcast, and we didn't. They were doing some like car show thing on NHL Network, which I was very confused about. But
I wonder why you were confused about that.
Yeah, and so then I just kept it on CSN, obviously. But
I wonder who'll have the higher ratings between the Bulls and the Blackhawks tonight, because I mean, both have pretty important games. I mean, the Bulls could really take a commanding 3-0 lead, and the Hawks could end the series against the Predators.
Well, the thing that's good is the Bulls start at 7, so
that's right.
You'll be able to watch them for an hour and a half, so pretty much, up until the fourth quarter. And if the Bulls are up by, 25 points, there's probably no point to go back to that because the Bulls will probably win. Then you can focus your attention on the Hawks. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take a short break. We'll come back, and we will start to talk about the Bulls. We might talk a little bit about the Hawks still, but we'll start to transition into the Chicago Bulls as they try to take a 3-0 series lead. And a little later on in the show, we will focus our attention back to the Cubs and the Brian Schlitter bullpen issues.
We saw firsthand what that was like in Chris Bryant's debut.
Yeah, we saw that firsthand on Friday, and that was just the beginning of something bad. So you're listening to Sports Renegades here on SportsTownChicago.com. The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.